Here's a statistic that should alarm every organization. Companies with leaders rated low in interpersonal awareness are 32% more likely to experience high turnover and 45% less likely to meet their strategic objectives, according to a recent Harvard Business Review research. Yet, 67% of organizations still promote based primarily on technical competence, treating consideration, as in being considerate, as a nice-to-have soft skill. Let me share what this looks like in practice. Last year, I analyzed exit interview data from 50 companies. The number one reason high performers left, it wasn't compensation, it wasn't workload. It was leaders who were, quote, brilliant, but oblivious to their impact on people. We have incredibly smart professionals who can analyze complex data, build sophisticated systems, solve intricate problems, but they can't read a room. They can't anticipate how their words will land. They can't sense when someone is struggling or when team dynamics are about to implode. And we've convinced ourselves that this is acceptable. That as long as someone delivers results, whatever that might mean, we can overlook their complete lack of awareness about the human beings around them. But what if I told you that consideration isn't a soft skill at all? What if it's actually a form of intelligence, and its absence represents a cognitive limitation that fundamentally undermines professional effectiveness? Yes, you heard me. Today, I'm going to prove to you that the ability to consider others isn't just about being nice. It's about possessing the cognitive sophistication to factor human variables into your decision-making. And if you lack this ability, you're not just inconsiderate, you're operating with incomplete intelligence. Hi, I'm Jenny Clark, a conscious leadership expert who spent 2 decades in executive recruiting and talent management, having worked with giants like Google and Spencer Stuart. I discovered that the secret to transformative leadership lies in the 5 dimensions of conscious leadership. And I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Join me on this channel as we embark on an honest and vulnerable journey together to become the kind of leader that genuinely inspires transformation in your organization. I've got a little career-boosting secret for you. Do you want the inside scoop on leadership, plus some juicy tips and hot takes you won't hear anywhere else? I've got a newsletter that's basically your personal career coach in your inbox. Just click on the link below in the description to join in. Oh, and if you're loving this content, I know you are, click that subscribe button. It's like giving me a virtual fist bump, ensuring you won't miss out on any future videos. My mother was probably the most considerate person I ever knew. She was a physical therapist, a caregiver who took her work seriously, kind and empathetic in ways that made real differences in people's lives. But she was also tough as nails and didn't take any crap from anyone, often delivering hard truths with a smile. You wonder where I get it. She was a person who bought the most thoughtful gifts, not expensive ones, but gifts that showed she had really listened to what mattered to you. She knew exactly what would make you feel better after a disappointment, and she could sense when something was wrong before you even said anything. Here's what I learned from watching her. Being considerate isn't a one-time act of kindness. It's a way of being, of living. It's about careful thought, genuine, ongoing concern for others, whether you know them well or not. And in a professional context, this translates to leaders who think about how their decisions will affect their teams, who consider the ripple effects of their communication style, who anticipate the needs of their stakeholders before being asked. Let me give you what might seem like a trivial example, but I think it reveals something profound about how we're losing our capacity for consideration. Do you walk down the middle of the sidewalk? When you're leaving a building, do you pause to check if someone's trying to enter before pushing the door open? Are you aware that there are unspoken conventions, that is, common practices of yielding that are designed to prevent collisions and create flow? When we're driving, we have lanes and traffic signals to remind us to consider other drivers and prevent, at least lessen the chances of, collisions. But as pedestrians, we seem to forget that our same principles apply. Our actions affect others, and a little awareness prevents problems. Awareness that we share the world and neither you nor I am the center of the universe. Here's why this matters in a workplace context. If you can't manage the basic consideration required to share a sidewalk effectively, how are you going to navigate the complex human dynamics of leading a team, managing stakeholder relationships, or driving organizational change? The leaders I've worked with who are most effective aren't necessarily the smartest in a traditional sense. They're the ones who can think systematically about human behavior. They can anticipate how a policy change will be received by different teams. They can sense when a team member is disengaging before it becomes a performance issue. They can predict which communication approach will be most effective with different audiences. This isn't emotional intelligence in some touchy-feely sense. This is strategic intelligence, the ability to factor human variables into decision-making in ways that improve outcomes. I think about a CEO I worked with who was restructuring her organization. She didn't just announce the changes and expect people to adapt. She thought carefully about the timing, the messaging, who should hear what first, how to address predictable outcomes, and what support people would need during the transition. Was she being nice? Maybe. But more importantly, she was being smart. She understood that the success of her strategy depended on how well she managed the human elements of change. Her consideration wasn't just ethical, it was strategic. Let's get uncomfortably honest about the stories you tell yourself about consideration. When someone suggests you need to be more considerate of others, what's your internal response? I don't have time for hand-holding. People are too sensitive these days. I'm paid to get results, not make friends. That's HR's job, not mine. Soft skills are for people who don't compete on merit. Sound familiar? Here's what these beliefs really reveal. You've bought into a false dichotomy that consideration and competence are mutually exclusive. But what if that belief is actually a defense mechanism protecting you from acknowledging a cognitive limitation? Think about this. When you dismiss consideration as unnecessary, are you really saying it doesn't matter? Or are you saying you lack the mental capacity to hold the multiple perspectives simultaneously while still driving results? Here's a harder question. Do you walk down the middle of the sidewalk, oblivious to others trying to pass? Do you push through doors without checking if someone's entering? Yes, I'm back to that. These aren't just matters of politeness. They're indicators of whether your brain automatically factors other people into your spatial and social calculations. If you can't manage the basic cognitive load of sidewalk navigation while considering others, how are you managing the complex human dynamics of leadership? The limiting belief that's really holding you back is this. You think considering others will make you weak, slow, or less effective. But what if the opposite is true? What if your inability to factor human variables into your thinking is what's actually limiting your effectiveness? Every time you create unnecessary friction because you don't think about how something would land, every time you lose a talented team member because you couldn't sense their disengagement, every time your brilliant strategy fails because you didn't consider how people would actually implement it, you're not being tough or efficient. You're operating with incomplete data and flawed intelligence. Here are the questions that will reveal whether you possess this form of intelligence. Before I communicate, have I run a mental simulation of how different people will receive this message? If you're not doing this automatically, you're missing a key cognitive function that effective leaders possess. Can I accurately predict which team members will struggle with this change and why? This isn't about feelings. It's about possessing the analytical ability to factor human variables into your planning. When someone disengages in a meeting, do I notice in real time or only in hindsight? Your answer reveals whether you're processing social data as it happens or operating blindly. What's the correlation between my direct communication style and team performance? Track this objectively. Are people thriving under your leadership or merely surviving? If I recorded my interactions for a week and watched them back, what would I notice about my impact on others? Most inconsiderate leaders have never actually observed themselves objectively. The diagnostic question: do I know, no guessing, but knowing, how each of my team members best receives feedback, processes change, and shows signs of stress? If you can't answer this precisely, you're missing critical intelligence about the humans you're supposed to be leading. Listen, I know some of you are bristling at this message. Good. That discomfort is your brain recognizing a blind spot it's been protecting. Here's what I know about truly powerful leaders. They don't see consideration as weakness. They see it as data gathering. They understand that the ability to accurately factor human response into their decision-making isn't soft. It's sophisticated. You can continue operating with partial intelligence, wondering why your teams underperform, why your strategies fail in implementation, why talented people keep leaving. Or you can develop the cognitive capacity to see and respond to the human dynamics that actually determine success. For the next week, I want you to practice what I call tactical consideration. Before every significant interaction, pause and run this calculation. How can I achieve my objective while factoring in the human response to my approach? This isn't about being nicer, it's about being smarter. It's about developing the complete intelligence that separates leaders who merely occupy positions from those who actually create extraordinary results through people. The business world is full of technically brilliant people who plateau because they lack this cognitive dimension, consideration. It's also waiting for leaders sophisticated enough to master both technical and human intelligence. Which will you choose to be? The data is clear. The examples are undeniable. The only question is whether you're intelligent enough to recognize that consideration isn't optional. It's essential. Your team is waiting for a leader who gets it. You ready? Now let's get to work. I get it. Taking that first step can feel daunting. I've been there too. But here's the thing. You've got strengths you might not even realize yet. I've put together a free career mapping framework to help you uncover those hidden talents and chart your own path forward. It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about starting to see your potential clearly. Ready to explore? The framework's waiting for you. Just click the link in the description. Your future self will thank you for taking this small but powerful step today.